a locked hotel suite, a camera nobody was supposed to see, and a career-ending trap that had been rehearsed in silence for weeks. When Jaidyn Alexis pushed open that door, she was not walking in to argue, she was not walking in to cry, and she was not walking in to beg for the truth. Jaidyn Alexis was walking in to detonate a bomb she had already armed. And what the lens captured inside that room did not just embarrass Blueface. It did not just humiliate Blueface. It burned the entire foundation of Blueface's household down to ash, while his pregnant baby mom Nvea was still upstairs picking out onesies. This is not gossip. This is not a rumor. This is a surgical strike, and by the end of this breakdown you are going to understand exactly how Jaidyn Alexis, Blueface, Ashley, and Nvea just became the four names at the center of the most calculated act of retaliation hip-hop culture has seen all year. Before we go a single sentence further, you need to lock in right now, because what I am about to walk you through is not something the mainstream blogs are going to touch with the level of forensic detail you deserve. Hit that subscribe button, slam the like, and let us send a message that raw, uncut, analytical breakdowns like this belong at the top of the algorithm. Because trust me, once you see the timeline the way I am about to lay it out for you, you will never look at Blueface, Jaidyn Alexis, or the entire circle around them the same way again. Now let us get into it. And I want you to understand something before we go any deeper. What you are about to hear is not a rumor cycle. This is not the same recycled timeline you have already scrolled past 6 times today on your feed. This is the full anatomy of a takedown that was engineered, executed, and delivered with the kind of precision most rap fans have never seen play out in real time. So put the phone down, close the other tabs, and lock in with me, because every detail from this point forward matters. And to be honest, the more you look at the sequence of events, the more you start to realize this was never a moment of passion. This was not a jealous girlfriend showing up at the wrong door at the wrong time. This was a chess move that had been sitting on the board for weeks, waiting for the exact hour to strike. Jaidyn Alexis did not stumble onto Blueface and Ashley. Jaidyn Alexis was told exactly where Blueface would be, exactly what time Blueface would arrive, and exactly who Blueface planned to bring with him into that hotel suite. And that alone should tell you everything about how deep the cracks inside Blueface's inner circle had already grown. Because for information that's specific to reach Jaidyn Alexis, somebody close, somebody trusted, somebody Blueface believed was riding with him, had already flipped. The suite was picked because Blueface believed it was untouchable. High-end. Private entry. No cameras in the hallway that mattered. The kind of location a man books when he thinks he has covered every angle. And that is the tragic irony of the entire setup, because while Blueface was busy covering the outside, Jaidyn Alexis had already handled the inside. And now let us talk about Ashley for a second, because Ashley is the piece of this story that a lot of casual viewers are still sleeping on. Ashley did not appear in Blueface orbit overnight. For months, people had been whispering that Ashley was creeping closer and closer to Blueface, showing up in the background of photos, tagged in locations she had no reason to be at, and sending signals loud enough that anyone paying attention could see the picture forming. But there was no proof, no receipts, no smoking gun. And Blueface loves plausible deniability the way some rappers love chains, so he kept moving Ashley through his life with just enough shadow to avoid a headline. He thought he was managing the risk. He was not. He was walking into a trap Jaidyn Alexis had already built around him, brick by quiet brick. Now here is where the operation gets truly cold, and I want you to pay close attention to this next part, because it is the moment the whole tone of this story changes. Because Jaidyn Alexis did not walk into that hotel suite with her phone out, hoping to catch a lucky angle. Jaidyn Alexis walked into that room already knowing the camera was there. A small lens, positioned with the kind of precision you only see when somebody has thought about framing, lighting, and line of sight in advance. It was placed to capture the bed. It was placed to capture the entry. It was placed to capture faces. No blinking lights. No visible housing. Just a silent, patient eye waiting to record the exact seconds Blueface and Ashley would never be able to explain away. And that is the detail I want you to sit with, because it tells you the emotional temperature of the person behind this play. Jaidyn Alexis was not hot. Jaidyn Alexis was ice cold. This was not passion. This was procedure. And now, when the door finally opened, the trap snapped shut in real time. The footage, the same footage that would go on to shake the entire scene, caught the exact microsecond Blueface face dropped from swagger into panic. Ashley's expression collapsed even faster, going from comfort to terror in a single blink. And Jaidyn Alexis? Jaidyn Alexis did not scream. Jaidyn Alexis did not swing. Jaidyn Alexis did not perform for the room the way most people would. Because the moment was never about winning the argument inside that suite. The moment was about winning the war outside of it. Every second of that reaction on Blueface's face and Ashley's face was already being harvested, already being time-stamped, already being preserved for what came next. And what came next was a public detonation nobody in Blueface camp was prepared for. Let me pause here for a second, because I want you to really understand how surgical this was, and honestly, this is the part of the breakdown where I lose most casual viewers, so if you are still with me, drop a like right now and let me know you are riding with the full timeline. Most people, in that same situation, would have kept the footage. Most people would have hoarded it for private leverage, for a lawyer, for a quiet payout, for a signed apology behind closed doors. Jaidyn Alexis did the opposite. Jaidyn Alexis skipped every traditional lane. No blog exclusive. No anonymous tip. No slow drip. The raw footage of Blueface and Ashley in that hotel suite went straight to the public bloodstream, unedited, unfiltered, and unmistakable. Within hours, it was everywhere. Timelines, group chats, repost pages, screen-recorded clips saved to 1,000 phones before Blueface team even knew the fire had started. And by then, there was no putting it out. Because you cannot subpoena a screenshot. You cannot cease and desist the internet. Jaidyn Alexis had already turned Blueface's private life into public property, and the tape became a permanent record that no lawyer, no publicist, no crisis manager on earth could scrub. Now here is where the story shifts, and this is the part one want every single viewer to sit with quietly, because it is heavier than the tape itself. Because up until this point, we have been talking about Blueface, Ashley, and Jaidyn Alexis like they are the only three names on the board. But there was a fourth name in this equation the entire time, and that fourth name is the one who took the deepest, most personal, most undeserved blow of the entire operation. Somewhere across town, in the house Blueface had built, Nvea was watching. Nvea, heavily pregnant. Nvea, carrying Blueface's child. Nvea, the woman who had been told over and over again that the household was safe, that the whispers were lies, that Ashley was nothing, that the rumors were just noise. Nvea did not learn about the hotel suite from a private conversation. Nvea did not learn from Blueface calling her, sitting her down, and taking responsibility like a man. Nvea learned the same way the rest of the internet learned. From the tape. And I want you to picture that for a second. A pregnant woman, exhausted, emotionally stretched, physically vulnerable, sitting in her own living room watching the father of her unborn child get caught red-handed with another woman in a hotel suite that was booked while she was at home. That is not a scandal. That is a wound. And Jaidyn Alexis had to know exactly what that footage would do to Nvea when it dropped. Which is why this next part matters so much. Nvea did not wait. Nvea did not scream. Nvea did not call a friend for advice. Nvea packed. Systematically. Room by room. Drawer by drawer. Every piece of clothing, every piece of paperwork, every small trace of the life she had built inside those walls, folded up and carried out. And every single bag she filled was another nail in the coffin of the family structure Blueface had taken for granted. The imagery alone is devastating. A heavily pregnant woman, dragging her belongings out of a home that was supposed to be her sanctuary, because the man who promised her that sanctuary had been caught on a hidden lens with another woman. Nvea walked out of Blueface's front door with no return trip in mind. And when Nvea crossed that threshold, she did not just take her clothes. Nvea took the last piece of Blueface's domestic foundation with her. Because a house without the mother of your unborn child is not a home. A house without the mother of your unborn child is a set. And that is exactly what Blueface was left standing in. A set. An empty stage. A lifestyle without a life. But here is the twist most people are missing, and this is where you have to stay locked in, because the deeper motive behind this entire operation goes way past a cheating scandal. And I promise you, when I lay out the receipts on this next section, you're going to see the hotel suite tape in a completely different light. This was never just about Ashley. This was never just about a hotel suite. This was a return strike in an ongoing war that had already claimed its first casualty weeks earlier. And that casualty was Bravo. Bravo, Jaidyn Alexis's manager. Bravo, the man responsible for building, shielding, and directing the professional side of Jaidyn Alexis's career. Because before there was a hotel suite, before there was a hidden camera, before there was a leaked tape, there was a different leak. A leak Blueface launched. A leak Blueface engineered. A leak that dropped compromising footage of Bravo into the public eye with one goal in mind: to destabilize the machine around Jaidyn Alexis and pull the ground out from under her career. Blueface wanted to send a message. Blueface wanted to prove that he could reach into Jaidyn Alexis's professional world and tear a beam out of it whenever he felt like it. And for a moment, it worked. For a moment, the industry watched Jaidyn Alexis wobble. For a moment, Blueface believed he had won the exchange. He had not. He had only started it. Because what Blueface failed to understand, what Blueface has always failed to understand, is that Jaidyn Alexis does not retaliate on emotion. Jaidyn Alexis retaliates on timing. And while Blueface was celebrating what he thought was a checkmate against Bravo, Jaidyn Alexis was already 3 moves ahead, quietly assembling the operation that would eventually walk through that hotel suite door. The Bravo leak was Blueface's opening move. The Ashley tape was Jaidyn Alexis's counter. And the tactical symmetry between the two is almost poetic in how brutal it is. Blueface hit the professional life. Jaidyn Alexis hit the personal life. Blueface leaked footage meant to embarrass Jaidyn Alexis's business circle. Jaidyn Alexis leaked footage meant to dismantle Blueface's household. Blueface used a lens to expose a manager. Jaidyn Alexis used a lens to expose a partner, a mistress, and by extension, a father. Move for move. Wound for wound. And when you place these two events side by side on the same timeline, it becomes impossible to see the hotel suite as anything other than what it truly was. A response. A precise, ice-cold, career-grade response. And this is where the power dynamic between Blueface and Jaidyn Alexis officially flipped, and honestly, this is the shift the internet has not fully caught onto yet. For years, Blueface has operated with the belief that he could dictate the terms of every relationship he entered, professional or personal, on his own schedule, with his own consequences, and with his own version of the story. Blueface believed that he could leak, expose, embarrass, and provoke without ever facing a return volley strong enough to shake his throne. That illusion is now dead. Because with a single tape, Jaidyn Alexis did what 1,000 tweets, 1,000 headlines, and 1,000 podcast breakdowns could never do. Jaidyn Alexis stripped Blueface of the one weapon he has always relied on: control of the narrative. Blueface no longer decides how a story is told. Blueface no longer decides which chapter drops next. Blueface no longer decides who plays the villain and who plays the victim. Because the tape decided all of that for him. And the tape does not lie. Now let us zoom out for a second, because the collateral damage from this operation is not going to stop at Blueface, Ashley, and Nvea. There is a wider blast radius to this story that most breakdowns are ignoring completely, and if you understand the industry the way I try to explain it on this channel, you already know exactly where this ripple is heading. Once footage of this scale enters the ecosystem, the ripple effect spreads far past the 4 names in the headline. Every business partner Blueface leans on is now recalculating exposure. Every brand quietly attached to Blueface image is now dialing back visibility. Every podcast, every interview, every appearance scheduled in the coming weeks is now sitting in a group chat somewhere with the same 3-word question. Do we cancel? Because association with Blueface just became a live liability. And that is the invisible cost most people are not talking about yet. A tape like this does not just hurt the man in the footage. A tape like this hurts every dollar sitting near him. And Blueface, whether he wants to admit it or not, is watching his commercial gravity collapse in slow motion. Meanwhile, Ashley is in an even more precarious position. Because Ashley walked into that suite thinking she was stepping into a private chapter of Blueface's life. Ashley walked out of that suite as a household name attached to the most humiliating footage of the year. And unlike Blueface, Ashley does not have a career built to absorb this kind of blow. Ashley does not have a fan base to spin the story. Ashley does not have a team of publicists sending out damage control statements at 3 in the morning. Ashley has her name. And that name is now permanently welded to a hidden camera clip that no future employer, no future partner, and no future opportunity will be able to unsee. That is the cruelty of being the third party in a war you did not know you were fighting. You take the same damage as the main combatant, but you had none of the leverage going in. And then there is Nvea. And I keep circling back to Nvea because Nvea is the emotional gravity of this entire story. Every other name in this timeline has some form of armor. Nvea had none. Nvea did nothing to earn what happened to her. Nvea did not leak footage. Nvea did not set traps. Nvea did not sneak into hotel suites. Nvea did exactly what she was told a good partner is supposed to do. Nvea built a home. Nvea prepared a nursery. Nvea trusted the father of her unborn child. And in return, Nvea was handed a viral clip while she was carrying that child in her body. There is no version of this story where Nvea is not the most wounded person on the board. Not Blueface, whose pride took the hit. Not Ashley, whose reputation took the hit. Nvea, whose entire future just got restructured by a betrayal she did not sign up for and a leak she did not authorize. And I need you to remember that, because in the days and weeks to come, the internet is going to try to make this about entertainment. It is going to try to turn Nvea into a meme. It is going to try to reduce the pregnant woman walking out of that house into a screenshot. Do not let it. Nvea is the one line in this timeline that deserves nothing but protection. Now, let us talk about the question everybody is dancing around, because I know it is the same question sitting in your comment section, in your group chat, and probably in your own head right now. Was Jaidyn Alexis justified? And I want you to sit with this one honestly, because the answer is not as clean as the internet wants it to be. Yes, Blueface fired the first shot. Yes, Blueface leaked footage of Bravo. Yes, Blueface attacked Jaidyn Alexis's professional world with the same weapon Jaidyn Alexis eventually turned against him. From a pure retaliation standpoint, Jaidyn Alexis matched Blueface move for move, and in the cold logic of leverage warfare, Jaidyn Alexis did what she had to do to reset the balance of power. But retaliation has a cost. And in this case, the cost was carried by a pregnant woman who had no part in the original conflict. That is the ethical fault line running through the entire operation. Jaidyn Alexis won the war. But somebody else paid the price. And whether the public decides that price was acceptable, understandable, or unforgivable is going to shape the way this entire chapter is remembered for years. Because history does not judge these battles by who threw the first punch. History judges them by who bled the most while the punches were flying. And that brings us to Blueface, standing in the middle of the wreckage. Blueface, who thought he was the one holding the deck. Blueface, who thought he could leak, provoke, and posture without consequence. Blueface, who now watches his household emptied, his baby mama gone, his mistress exposed, his career leaking value in real time, and his rival Jaidyn Alexis holding the receipt for every single one of those losses. There is no version of this outcome where Blueface walks away with the upper hand. The Bravo leak may have opened the door, but the hotel tape kicked that door off the hinges. And Blueface is going to spend the next several months, maybe the next several years, trying to rebuild a public image that was engineered to collapse the moment that camera hit record. This is not a scandal Blueface can spin. This is not a scandal Blueface can outlast. This is a scandal that will follow Blueface into every interview, every relationship, every headline, and every studio session for the foreseeable future. Because the tape is out. The damage is done. And the internet does not forget. So where does that leave us? It leaves us at the end of an operation that will be studied by anyone who understands how modern reputation warfare actually works. A hidden lens, a leaked tape, a pregnant woman walking out of a front door, and a rap career staggering under the weight of its own arrogance. It leaves us with a Blueface who no longer controls his own narrative, an Ashley who never wanted to be famous like this, an Nvea who deserved better than any of this, and a Jaidyn Alexis who just proved, on the biggest stage available to her, that she is not somebody you leak footage of without expecting a counterstrike loud enough to rearrange the entire board. If you made it this deep into the breakdown, I need you to do 3 things before you leave. First, hit that subscribe button, because this channel is where the raw sequence of events gets laid out with zero filler and zero rumor recycling. Second, drop your definitive stance in the comments below. Do you believe Jaidyn Alexis was justified in dropping the tape as retaliation for the Bravo leak? Or do you believe Jaidyn Alexis crossed a line the moment she knew Nvea was pregnant? There is no wrong answer, only your answer, and I want every voice on this timeline. And third, share this video with the group chat that needs to see it. Because breakdowns like this only reach the people who need them when the audience refuses to let them get buried. The tape is out. The house is empty. The war is not over. And when the next chapter of this fallout drops, I promise you, this channel is going to be the first place it gets dissected sentence by sentence. Turn your notifications on, lock in, and I will see you in the next breakdown.